Hello there, my name is Andrew Johnson and it is my privilege to be a speaker on board luxury cruise ships. I've been doing it now for 13 or 14 years and I get to talk about the things that interest me. Travel, the explorers, the impact of world trade on some of the marvellous places that we visit, and the diversity of culture and language. I'm a guest member of some wonderful teams and I get to travel with some marvellous people and the opportunities to help create these fabulous memories that we all share. In terms of world trade, that's been happening for millennia, since long before Roman times. And one of the great trading peoples were the Vikings, whose commercial empire stretched from Greenland through Iceland, off further west to the Canadian Maritimes and back through Ireland, Scotland, Scandinavia, Europe and into Asia. In fact, there is a bit of graffiti in the Hagia Sophia Mosque in Istanbul that tells us that one Viking called Haflan was there. The development of modern day travel, principally for pleasure and edification, is really quite recent. It started in the 18th century with the Grand Tour, where wealthy young men would travel to Italy, sometimes in a small group, to complete their education, to finish their education, to share, to learn about the culture, the art and so on of Italy. They would have with them someone called a bear leader, who was their chaperone, their mentor, their tutor, and his job was to help them to extend their experiences. But he would often extend their experiences into other fields beyond the arts, the sculpture, the fine art, the literature and so on. He would teach them about the food and the great wines of Italy, but he would also teach them about the pleasures of the flesh. So their experience really was quite broadened by it. I'm an international chief executive. I've run companies around Europe, 37 different countries, 12 different nationalities in the corporate head office. And so you can imagine there were occasional challenges and misunderstandings. And I am enormously impressed by the way I see the crews on board these modern day cruise ships from 40 or more different nationalities, working together as a well-oiled team and, for some amazing reason, always managing to smile. The variety of people that we get to meet is a real pleasure, a great, great pleasure. And today we travel on board wonderful grand voyages. There are lots of differences. Winston Churchill, the famous British wartime Prime Minister, said, "The United States of America and the United Kingdom are two great nations divided by a common language." He may not have been entirely original in saying that, but his use of language was inspirational, and I regularly quote him. One of the big differences between North America and North American English and the rest of the English-speaking world is the way that we talk about our bathroom, our restroom, our lavatory, our comfort stop, our men's room, our toilet, our loo. There are so many different expressions. Back in the 1970s, a very dear friend of ours from US America came across to London to stay, and she was staying with other friends who have a beautiful, massive Victorian place on the edge of London. And at the end of lunch on the first day, she turned to her hostess and said, "I'd like to visit the bathroom." And so her hostess turned to her husband and said, "George, she'd like to see the bathroom." George, who was immensely proud of his Victorian plumbing in this house, showed her with alacrity. He popped her up the stairs and took her along the landing and opened the door, and there of course was a beautiful Victorian bathroom, a fabulous cast iron bath with claw feet and a magnificent, simply magnificent large ceramic wash basin, but nothing else. There was no sign of a WC there. So she said, could I go to the restroom? And he said, "Yes, of course." So he took her downstairs and along the hallway, opened the door, and there was the restroom, the salon, the lounge, the sitting room, whatever you may call it. Beautiful brocade-covered furniture, fabulous curtains, Turkish rugs on the floors, but no toilet inside. And so she then decided she was going to have to be really brave and said, I'd like to go to the lavatory, please. And so he said, oh, you should have said when we were upstairs. It's right next to the bathroom. Well, it's not only in English that we get these challenges. Spanish and Portuguese have changed around the world, and particularly the Spanish of Latin America and the Portuguese of Brazil have lots of differences to the languages that we speak in Europe, principally affected by rock and roll, the movies, the impact of North America. And the same thing's now happening to Chinese. It's being impacted by Western influences. Corporations have to be careful as well. When General Motors launched that very successful car of theirs, the Nova, it was a great success in the English-speaking part of North America and a total failure in Mexico, the Spanish-speaking part of North America. And the reason it was such a failure is that Nova, in Spanish, no va, simply means it doesn't go. Not a good way of selling a car. It is a real privilege for me and for Kathy, my wife, to travel with some of the best cruise teams in the world and to meet some wonderful, wonderful guests who get to travel with us, many of whom become lifelong friends. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you soon on board.